I downloaded a RentABoyfriend app to survive a family event. I expected a performance, not a connection. He showed me what I was missing, and now, I have to decide if I'm brave enough to change my life for him. Once Upon a Cozy Night welcomes you to a world of mystery, magic, and just the right amount of drama. So snuggle up, get comfy, and if you love a good story, don't forget to subscribe, because this next tale? Oh, it's one for the books. Yukio traced her fingers over a fresh journal, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Now this, she murmured. This is a story worth reading. With a satisfied smile, she flipped open the cover, eager to devour a new tale of love. Let's begin. My world, Callista Everhart's world, was a symphony of precision and control. As a senior project manager at Innovate Dynamics, my life was a meticulously planned schedule of deadlines, strategic meetings, and the relentless pursuit of perfection. My office, a sleek, minimalist space overlooking the city, was my sanctuary, a place where I could orchestrate every variable and ensure flawless outcomes. My personal life, however, was a stark contrast, a barren landscape devoid of spontaneity and connection. My family, particularly my mother, had long expressed concern about my solitary existence. The upcoming wedding of my cousin, a grand affair at a picturesque countryside estate, loomed as a source of considerable anxiety. "Just bring a date, Callista," my mother had said during our last phone call, her voice a delicate blend of concern and thinly veiled disappointment. I knew these family gatherings were less about celebration and more about a subtle commentary on my single status. Faced with the prospect of enduring another round of well-meaning but invasive questions, I decided on a pragmatic solution. I needed a temporary fix, a buffer against the prying eyes and whispered judgments. I turned to the digital realm, to an app called Soulmates Incorporated, a service that offered curated Rent-A-Boyfriend experiences. The app promised a seamless professional service, providing the perfect partner for any occasion. I scrolled through profiles, each a carefully crafted persona, a polished image of charm and sophistication. I was looking for someone who could play the part, someone who could blend into the background, someone who wouldn't require any emotional investment. Then I saw Oswald Ashwood's profile. His bio, a simple freelance artist. Seeks adventure and good company, was refreshingly honest, a stark contrast to the overly curated profiles I had seen. Intrigued by his authenticity, I sent a request. Within minutes, he accepted. A digital contract was generated, outlining the terms of our agreement. Specific dates, a charming demeanor, and a strict no emotional entanglements clause. It was a business transaction, pure and simple. I scheduled a meeting with him at a local coffee shop, a place where I could assess his suitability for the role. When Oswald walked in, I was surprised. He was taller than I expected, with a warm smile and eyes that crinkled at the corners. He had an easygoing charm that was both disarming and reassuring. We discussed the details of the contract, the specific requirements of the wedding, and the need to maintain a convincing facade. Oswald listened attentively, offering suggestions and demonstrating a keen understanding of my needs. I found myself relaxing, my initial apprehension replaced by a sense of confidence. I had found my solution, a temporary partner to navigate the complexities of my family's expectations. The coffee shop buzzed with a low hum of conversations and the clinking of cups, but I found myself focusing solely on Oswald. He was articulate and thoughtful, his words painting vivid pictures of how he would play the role of my boyfriend. He spoke of creating believable anecdotes about our relationship, of anticipating my family's questions and having witty, charming responses ready. I was impressed by his attention to detail and his commitment to the task. I felt a sense of relief wash over me, knowing that I wouldn't have to face my family alone. As we finalized the details of the contract, I couldn't help but wonder if this arrangement would be as straightforward as I hoped. I had always prided myself on my ability to control my emotions, to maintain a professional distance. But something about Oswald's genuine warmth and easygoing charm made me question my own resolve. I pushed the thought aside, reminding myself that this was a business transaction, a temporary solution to a temporary problem. The rehearsal dinner was a carefully orchestrated affair, a prelude to the grand wedding that loomed the following day. Held in a beautifully renovated barn, its rustic charm enhanced by twinkling fairy lights and the soft glow of candlelight, the atmosphere was warm and inviting. I arrived, dressed in a sleek, elegant black dress, its simplicity a testament to my understated style. I felt a familiar knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach as I scanned the room, searching for Oswald. He was punctual as expected, appearing at my side with a disarming smile and a bouquet of delicate white lilies. "For you," he said, his voice warm and sincere. "To compliment your elegance." His gesture, though part of the performance, felt surprisingly genuine. Oswald was dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, his appearance both polished and approachable. He navigated the crowded room with an effortless charm, engaging with my family members, making them laugh with witty anecdotes and thoughtful observations. He seemed to have an innate ability to connect with people, to make them feel seen and heard. He complimented my dress, not with superficial flattery, but with genuine appreciation, noting the way the fabric draped and the subtle details of its design. As we moved through the room, Oswald's hand gently rested on the small of my back, a subtle gesture that conveyed a sense of intimacy and connection. When the music started, we took to the dance floor, moving together with a natural rhythm. I, usually reserved and hesitant, found myself relaxing in his presence. He wasn't just playing a role. He was genuinely present, attentive, and engaging. He asked about my work, my interests, and my dreams, listening intently to my responses. He didn't just fill the silence with small talk. He asked probing questions that showed he was truly interested in getting to know me. I found myself opening up, sharing aspects of my life that I rarely discussed, revealing glimpses of my inner self. My family, observing our interaction, exchanged approving glances. I saw the looks of approval from my mother, a subtle nod of satisfaction. This was working, maybe even better than I expected. Oswald was not just fulfilling his contractual obligations. He was exceeding them. He was creating a believable illusion, a convincing portrayal of a loving partner. He told stories of our shared experiences, weaving together details that felt surprisingly authentic. He spoke of our first date at a small Italian restaurant, our weekend getaway to a secluded cabin in the mountains, and our shared love for art and literature. As the evening progressed, I found myself enjoying his company, forgetting for a moment that our relationship was a carefully constructed facade. I began to wonder if the illusion was becoming too real, if the lines between our fake relationship and genuine connection were beginning to blur. The thought both excited and unsettled me. I had always prided myself on my ability to maintain control, to keep my emotions in check. But Oswald's warmth, his charm, and his genuine interest in me were making it increasingly difficult to maintain that distance. The wedding ceremony itself was a blur of emotions. Standing beside Oswald, I felt a strange sense of peace settle over me, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. The vows, spoken with heartfelt sincerity by the bride and groom, resonated deeply within me, stirring emotions I had long suppressed. As the newly married couple exchanged their first kiss, Oswald turned to me, his eyes filled with a warmth that made my heart skip a beat. He gently took my hand, his touch sending a shiver of electricity through me. The reception that followed was a lively celebration, a vibrant mix of music, laughter, and the clinking of champagne glasses. But amidst the festivities, Oswald suggested a detour, a moment away from the structured schedule and the watchful eyes of my family. "Let's find some inspiration," he said, his voice a low whisper in my ear, leading me away from the crowded ballroom and towards a local art gallery nestled in the heart of the quaint town. I, usually averse to spontaneous outings, found myself agreeing without hesitation. I was drawn to his adventurous spirit, his desire to find beauty in the unexpected. We wandered through the gallery, our footsteps echoing softly on the polished wooden floors, discussing the art, sharing our perspectives. Oswald's passion for his work was infectious. He saw beauty in the mundane, finding inspiration in the play of light and shadow, the texture of a brushstroke, the emotion captured in a sculpture. He pointed out details that I had overlooked, showing me a new way of seeing the world, a perspective that was both refreshing and enlightening. Later, we shared a quiet lunch in a small cafe, its cozy atmosphere a welcome respite from the wedding festivities. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, like a familiar melody, touching upon a wide range of topics, from our childhood memories to our hopes and dreams for the future. I found myself revealing aspects of my life I rarely shared, my vulnerabilities, my insecurities, and the hidden desires that I had long kept buried. I spoke of my childhood aspirations, my passion for my work, and the pressures I felt to live up to my family's expectations. He listened intently, his gaze unwavering, making me feel seen and understood in a way that I had never experienced before. He, in turn, shared stories of his own, of his struggles as a freelance artist, his unwavering commitment to his craft, and his belief in the power of creativity to transform the world. He spoke of the importance of finding joy in the present moment, of embracing the unexpected detours that life throws our way, and of living a life filled with purpose and passion. I was captivated by his perspective, his ability to find beauty in the chaos of life, and his unwavering optimism. I realized that Oswald was more than just a charming facade. He was a genuine, compassionate, and inspiring individual, a man who possessed a rare combination of talent, warmth, and a deep understanding of the human heart. The lines between our fake relationship and genuine connection continued to blur, becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish. I found myself drawn to his warmth, his authenticity, and his ability to see beyond my carefully constructed walls, to the woman I truly was beneath the surface. The reception continued, a vibrant tapestry of laughter, music, and the clinking of champagne flutes. Oswald and I rejoined the festivities, our hands brushing against each other as we navigated the crowded dance floor. The air was thick with the scent of floral arrangements and the sweet aroma of the wedding cake, a multi-tiered masterpiece that stood as a testament to the celebration of love. As we danced to a slow, romantic melody, I felt a strange sense of contentment, a feeling of belonging that I hadn't anticipated. Oswald's hand rested gently on my waist, his touch sending a warm shiver through me. Later, as the evening wore on and the dance floor began to empty, I decided to step outside for a breath of fresh air. The terrace, overlooking the sprawling gardens of the estate, was bathed in the soft glow of moonlight. I leaned against the railing, gazing at the stars that twinkled in the clear night sky, lost in my thoughts. It was then that I overheard a conversation between two of my aunts, their voices carried on the gentle breeze. "He seems so genuine," one whispered, her tone filled with admiration. "Callista looks happier than she has in years. I haven't seen her smile like that since she was a little girl." The words hung in the air, echoing in my mind, a stark reminder of the facade we were maintaining. Was it all an act, a carefully crafted performance designed to impress my family? Or was there something more, a genuine connection that had blossomed beneath the surface of our fake relationship? I found myself questioning my own feelings, my own motivations. Was I simply enjoying the illusion, the temporary escape from my solitary existence? Or was I falling for Oswald, for the man behind the contract, for the warmth and authenticity that he radiated? The thought both excited and terrified me. I had spent my life building walls around my heart, protecting myself from vulnerability, from the pain of rejection. But Oswald had managed to breach those walls, to reach the vulnerable core of my being, to awaken emotions I had long suppressed. I wasn't sure if I was ready for the emotional risk that came with admitting my feelings, with allowing myself to be truly vulnerable. I had always prided myself on my ability to maintain control, to keep my emotions in check. But Oswald's presence, his genuine warmth and unwavering attention, were making it increasingly difficult to maintain that distance. I turned to see Oswald approaching, his expression a mixture of concern and tenderness. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice soft. I hesitated, unsure how to respond. I wanted to confide in him, to share my doubts and fears, but I was afraid of revealing too much, of exposing my vulnerability. I simply nodded, offering a weak smile. "Just thinking," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He took my hand, his touch reassuring. "Come on," he said, leading me back towards the warmth and light of the reception. "Let's dance." The drive back to the city was quiet, a comfortable silence filled with unspoken thoughts and lingering emotions. I glanced at Oswald, his profile illuminated by the soft glow of the dashboard lights. I wondered what he was thinking, what he truly felt about our time together. The wedding, the art gallery, the whispered compliments, it all felt so real, so genuine. But was it? Or was it simply a performance, a well-executed contract? Back in the city, the rhythm of our dates continued, but with a subtle shift. The lines between our fake relationship and genuine connection grew increasingly blurred. We explored hidden cafes, our conversations flowing effortlessly from art to philosophy to the simple joys of life. We attended art openings, our shared passion for creativity sparking lively debates and insightful observations. We even took a spontaneous trip to a small jazz club, our laughter mingling with the soulful melodies that filled the room. One evening, after a particularly captivating exhibit showcasing the works of a local artist, we found ourselves lingering outside the gallery, reluctant to part ways. The air was crisp, the city lights twinkling like scattered diamonds against the velvet sky. We talked about the exhibit, our voices hushed, our words punctuated by long, comfortable silences. As we stood there, our hands brushed against each other, a spark igniting between us. Oswald turned to me, his eyes filled with a warmth that made my heart race. He reached out, gently cupping my face in his hands, his touch sending a shiver of electricity through me. Our lips met, a tender, hesitant kiss that quickly deepened into a passionate embrace. It was a moment of raw emotion, a culmination of our unspoken feelings, a declaration of our growing attraction. The world around us faded away, our focus narrowed to the heat of our bodies, the rhythm of our breaths, the undeniable connection that had blossomed between us. The next morning, I woke with a sense of unease, a mix of excitement and apprehension. Had we crossed a line we couldn't uncross? Had we jeopardized the carefully constructed boundaries of our contract? I knew that I was falling for him, that my feelings were real, and that our relationship was no longer just a business transaction. But I also knew that I was afraid of vulnerability, afraid of heartbreak, afraid of losing control. I had spent my life building a fortress around my heart, and now, I was faced with the terrifying prospect of tearing it down. I looked at my phone, several texts from Oswald. He was asking if I wanted to grab brunch. I stared at the screen, unsure of how to respond. I wanted to see him, to relive the magic of our kiss, but I was also afraid of what it might mean. I was afraid of the vulnerability, of the unknown. I replied, letting him know that I would be there. The brunch with Oswald was a delicate dance of unspoken emotions. We laughed, we talked, but there was a palpable tension in the air, a sense of uncertainty that hung between us. I found myself replaying our kiss in my mind, the warmth of his touch, the intensity of his gaze. I wanted to talk about it, to acknowledge the shift in our relationship, but I was afraid of breaking the fragile equilibrium we had established. Later that afternoon, I met up with my friend, Yukio, at our favorite bustling coffee shop. Yukio, with her keen eye for drama and her insatiable appetite for gossip, immediately sensed a change in my demeanor. "So," Yukio began, her voice laced with intrigue, "tell me everything about this rent-a-boyfriend." I, usually reserved and hesitant to share my personal life, found myself confiding in Yukio, sharing the details of my burgeoning feelings for Oswald. I spoke of our fake dates, our shared moments of laughter and connection, and the undeniable chemistry that had developed between us. Yukio listened intently, her eyes gleaming with excitement, occasionally interrupting with gasps and exclamations. "This is better than any soap opera," she declared, scribbling notes in her journal. "But be careful, Callista. Real feelings can complicate things." Then, Yukio's expression turned serious. "Speaking of complicated," she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "I saw Oswald a few days ago in the park." My heart skipped a beat. "Oh?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Yeah," Yukio continued, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "He was with a woman. They were laughing and talking, looked quite cozy actually." My stomach clenched. I tried to dismiss Yukio's words, to tell myself that it was just a friendly encounter, but a seed of doubt had been planted in my mind. I thought of the perfect facade Oswald had been putting on, and how good he was at his job. Could this be part of his job? Or was it something else? "Are you sure it was him?" I asked, my voice tight. "Positive," Yukio replied, nodding emphatically. "He's hard to miss, you know." And she was quite pretty too. They looked comfortable. My mind raced, filled with a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. I thought of the kiss, the intensity of our connection, and the unspoken promises that hung in the air. Was it all a lie? Was he just playing me? Or was there a perfectly reasonable explanation? The image of Oswald and the woman, laughing and talking in the park, replayed in my mind, casting a shadow over my newfound feelings. I felt a wave of insecurity wash over me, a fear that I was being played, that I was making a fool of myself. I thanked Yukio, and left the coffee shop. The rest of my day was filled with a growing feeling of dread. Yukio's words, like a persistent echo, resonated in my mind. The image of Oswald with another woman, laughing and seemingly comfortable, played on a loop, casting a pall over my thoughts. The seed of doubt once planted began to sprout, its tendrils wrapping around my heart, squeezing the joy out of my budding feelings. I found myself questioning everything, every shared laugh, every tender touch, every whispered compliment. Was it all a performance? A well-crafted illusion designed to fulfill his contractual obligations? The warmth that had blossomed between us began to cool, replaced by a chilling sense of uncertainty. I started to pull away, creating a subtle but noticeable distance. I canceled our next date, citing a sudden work commitment, my voice tight and strained. I avoided his calls, letting them go to voicemail, my heart pounding with a mixture of guilt and fear. When he texted, I responded with curt, impersonal messages, my words devoid of the warmth and enthusiasm that had once characterized our exchanges. Oswald noticed the change immediately. His brows furrowed with concern, his voice filled with a mixture of confusion and hurt when he finally managed to reach me on the phone. "Callista, what's going on?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. "You've been distant, and I don't understand why." I hesitated, my throat tight with unshed tears. I wanted to tell him everything, to confide in him my doubts and fears, but I was afraid of exposing my vulnerability, of revealing the insecurities that gnawed at me. I opted for a vague response, attributing my distance to work stress and personal issues. My words carefully chosen to conceal the true source of my unease. Oswald, though clearly unconvinced, respected my boundaries, offering his support and promising to give me space. But his words, though kind and understanding, did little to alleviate my anxiety. I felt a growing sense of guilt for pushing him away, for allowing my doubts to overshadow the genuine connection we had forged. Yet, I was trapped in a cycle of fear, unable to break free from the grip of my insecurities. I found myself replaying our moments together, searching for hidden meanings, for subtle signs that would confirm my suspicions. I scrutinized his texts, his emails, his social media posts, looking for any indication of deception. But I found nothing, only the same warmth, the same sincerity that had drawn me to him in the first place. The silence between us stretched, becoming increasingly heavy, increasingly unbearable. I felt a growing sense of isolation, a loneliness that was far more profound than any I had experienced before. I realized that I was pushing away the very thing I desired most, allowing my fear to dictate my actions, to sabotage my happiness. I knew that I had to confront my doubts, to face my insecurities, but I was terrified of what I might find. The silence between Oswald and me had become a heavy, suffocating blanket, smothering the warmth that had once blossomed between us. Trapped in a vortex of doubt and fear, I continued to distance myself, my actions fueled by the lingering image of Oswald with another woman. I knew I couldn't continue like this, that I needed answers, but I was terrified of what those answers might reveal. One evening, Oswald showed up at my apartment, his expression a mixture of concern and determination. He wasn't going to let me push him away any longer. He needed to know what was wrong. "Callista," he said, his voice firm but gentle, "we need to talk. I can't keep doing this. You're pushing me away, and I don't understand why." I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. I wanted to tell him everything, to confess my doubts and fears, but I was afraid of his reaction. I was afraid of being vulnerable. I invited him in, the air thick with unspoken emotions. "What's going on, Callista?" he asked, his gaze searching mine. "You've been distant, and I don't understand why. Did I do something wrong?" My voice trembling, I finally revealed my fears, my doubts, and Yukio's gossip. I told him about the woman in the park, about the seed of doubt that had been planted in my mind, and about the fear that I was being played. I watched as his expression shifted from concern to understanding, then to a flicker of hurt. Oswald listened patiently, his gaze unwavering, then gently took my hand. "The woman you saw was my sister," he explained, his voice calm and reassuring. "She was visiting from out of town. We were catching up, laughing about old memories. And as for my feelings, they're real, Callista. More real than anything I've ever felt." He looked into my eyes, his gaze sincere and unwavering. "I understand why you were hesitant to believe me," he said, his voice soft. "I know I was hired to play a role, but my feelings for you are genuine. I wouldn't lie about that." He continued, "I know you've built walls around yourself, Callista, but I hope you can trust me. I care about you, and I want to be with you. I want to know all of you, the strong, independent woman, and the vulnerable person you hide away." My heart pounded in my chest. I wanted to believe him, to trust him, but the fear of being hurt still lingered. I looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of deception, but I found only sincerity and warmth. I don't know what to say," I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. You don't have to say anything, Oswald replied, his voice gentle. Just give me a chance. Let me show you that my feelings are real. I stood there, the weight of my doubts and fears slowly lifting, replaced by a wave of relief and a surge of renewed hope. Oswald's words, his sincerity, his unwavering gaze, had pierced through the walls I had erected around my heart. I realized the absurdity of my doubts, the folly of allowing a fleeting moment of insecurity to overshadow the genuine connection we had forged. I had allowed fear to dictate my actions, pushing away the very thing I desired most. I had clung to the safety of my carefully constructed walls, afraid to venture into the unknown territory of vulnerability and trust. But Oswald had shown me that love wasn't about control, it was about taking risks, about embracing the uncertainty, about allowing yourself to be truly seen. A surge of emotion washed over me, a mixture of regret and relief, of joy and a newfound sense of freedom. I reached out, my fingers tracing the lines of his jaw, my touch sending a shiver through him. I'm sorry, I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. I should have trusted you. Oswald gently took my hand, his touch reassuring. It's okay, he said, his voice soft. I understand. But I need you to trust me now. I nodded, my eyes filled with tears. I reached for the contract, the symbol of our fake relationship, and tore it in half, the sound echoing in the quiet apartment. I don't want a contract, I said, my voice filled with emotion. I want you, Oswald. Just you. He pulled me into a tender embrace, his arms wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, a soothing melody that calmed my racing thoughts. I want you too, Callista, he whispered, his voice filled with warmth. More than anything. We kissed, a slow, tender kiss that sealed our newfound commitment, a promise of a future built on trust and vulnerability. It was a kiss that spoke of forgiveness, of understanding, of the unwavering love that had blossomed between us. The weight that had been pressing down on me lifted, replaced by a sense of lightness, a feeling of liberation. I realized that I had been living in a self-imposed prison, trapped by my fears and insecurities. But now I was free, free to embrace the love that had found me, free to explore the uncharted territories of my heart. We spent the rest of the evening talking, sharing our hopes and dreams, our fears and vulnerabilities. We spoke of our pasts, our present, and our future, our words weaving a tapestry of shared experiences and unspoken promises. I felt a sense of connection that I had never experienced before, a deep understanding that transcended words. I knew that this was more than just a fleeting romance, that this was something real, something lasting. The days that followed were a whirlwind of newfound joy and shared experiences. Oswald and I's relationship blossomed, our love story a testament to the power of vulnerability and authenticity. I learned to let go of my control, embracing the spontaneity and joy that Oswald brought into my life. We explored new hobbies, taking painting classes together, our laughter echoing through the studio as we attempted to capture the beauty of the world around us. We traveled to new places, discovering hidden gems in the city and venturing beyond its borders to explore the natural wonders of the countryside. We shared quiet evenings, curled up on the couch, reading books aloud to each other, our voices blending in a soothing harmony. We cooked together, experimenting with new recipes, our kitchen filled with the aroma of spices and the sound of our laughter. We talked for hours, sharing our deepest thoughts and feelings, our conversations weaving a tapestry of shared dreams and aspirations. I also learned to accept my family, and that they loved me, even if I did not have a partner. I made more of an effort to call my mother, and to visit with my extended family. I realized that they were not trying to pressure me, but that they truly loved me and wanted me to be happy. Oswald's presence in my life was a constant source of inspiration, his unwavering optimism and his belief in my potential empowering me to pursue my own dreams. I found myself taking more risks at work, proposing innovative ideas and embracing new challenges. I discovered a newfound passion for my career, a sense of purpose that had been missing before. We faced challenges, of course, as all couples do. We had disagreements, moments of frustration, and times when we felt misunderstood. But we learned to communicate effectively, to listen to each other's perspectives, and to find compromises that worked for both of us. I realized that real love wasn't about perfection, it was about acceptance, about embracing each other's flaws and celebrating their strengths. It was about building a partnership, a foundation of trust and respect, a safe haven where we could be our authentic selves. One evening, as we sat on the balcony of my apartment, watching the city lights twinkle against the night sky, Oswald turned to me, his eyes filled with love. "I never thought I'd find someone like you, Callista," he said, his voice soft. "Someone who challenges me, who inspires me, who loves me for who I am." I smiled, my heart overflowing with love. "I never thought I'd find someone like you either, Oswald," I replied, my voice filled with emotion. "Someone who sees me, who understands me, who loves me unconditionally." We kissed, a long, tender kiss that sealed our commitment, a promise of a lifetime together. The city lights twinkled around us, a shimmering backdrop to our love story, a testament to the magic that had brought us together. I knew that our journey had just begun, that there would be many more chapters to write, but I was confident that we would face whatever challenges came our way, together, hand in hand, heart to heart. Oswald's Epilogue. I often find myself looking at the city skyline, the vibrant hues reflecting in the river, and remembering that day. The day I first saw Callista. It wasn't at the rehearsal dinner, amidst the forced smiles and polite chatter. It was earlier, in the lobby of the hotel. She was a whirlwind of activity, her phone glued to her ear, a whirlwind of deadlines and demands swirling around her. Yet, even then, there was a vulnerability in her eyes, a hint of loneliness beneath the polished facade. I was captivated. I'd initially agreed to the Rent-A-Boyfriend gig for the money, of course. But as I spent more time with Callista, observing her, truly seeing her, I found myself drawn to her. Her sharp wit, her fierce independence, her quiet moments of introspection. She was a puzzle, complex and fascinating. I enjoyed peeling back the layers, discovering the woman beneath the ambitious executive. I never intended to fall for her. It wasn't part of the contract. But love, as I learned, rarely follows a script. It sneaks up on you, unexpected and undeniable. And with Callista, it was a slow, intoxicating burn. I learned to appreciate the quiet moments, the shared laughter, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about her work, her voice softening when she spoke of her childhood. She taught me to slow down, to savor the present moment, to find beauty in the ordinary. Yukio closed her journal, the soft thump of the leather cover a satisfying punctuation to the tale of Callista and Oswald. A mischievous glint sparked in her eyes as she considered the myriad of stories yet to be told. The world, she mused, was a stage, and she, Yukio, was its keen observer, its dedicated chronicler. Whose narrative would she capture next? Perhaps the enigmatic barista at her favorite cafe, the perpetually late colleague, or the handsome stranger always engrossed in the same book on the train. The possibilities were endless. But one story in particular had already begun to unfold before her very eyes. Eleanor, her colleague, had been acting strangely lately, a subtle unease clinging to her like a shadow. Yukio knew, with a certainty that tingled her fingertips, that a secret was brewing, a drama waiting to be unveiled. And she, with her ever-present journal and insatiable curiosity, would be the one to write it. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you had as much fun listening as I did sharing this story. Because wow, that was a ride. If your jaw is still on the floor, don't worry, I'll help you pick it up next time. If you enjoyed the chaos, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Because trust me, there's always more where that came from.